Hello and welcome to climbingarborist.com. My name is Dan Holiday, and in this video I'm bringing you a really exciting new retrievable redirect for moving rope system, otherwise known as doubled rope technique. So I came up with this idea recently, and this is a brand new retrievable redirect idea, and the reason it's so new is because it involves the use of the Petzl Eject, which has only been on the market, I don't know, maybe a year or so. And the reason you need to use the Petzl Eject for this system is for the unique way in which the Petzl Eject releases. So obviously I'm not really saying go out and buy a Petzl Eject just so you can do this redirect. It's more something that if you have the Petzl Eject, you can then utilize it as a redirect in this configuration. So making like multiple uses of the Petzl Eject. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you the setup of the Petzl Eject redirect. Then I'm going to descend down, and then I'm going to show you how it retrieves, how you can do the retrieval part. And then the final part of the video, I'm going to explain why you might want to use a retrievable redirect when working a tree. So what the uses, you know, where the advantage is. So if you just want to see what the technique is, then watch the first part of the video. If you want to see the technique, the setup, retrieval, and then you also want to understand why you might want to go to the extra effort of putting in a retrievable redirect, then watch the second half of the video. So for a setup of this system, firstly we need the Petzl Eject, and I've got a prusik, a small kind of thimble prusik on here on the webbing strap, which you'll see why in a moment. So first I want to take the webbing strap around the limb where we're going to redirect, and then feed that through the adjuster. Okay, next we're going to slide that little latch across, which will pop open the Petzl Eject, feed that through the eye in the webbing strap. Okay, so that's the first part of the system. So next, my rope is coming down here. We've obviously got this big limb here. So I want as straight a line to the redirect as possible, which in this case, that's going to mean taking off my system completely, passing it around that large limb, and fastening it back to my system again. All right. So now I've done that, I'm going to take the termination end of my rope and feed that through the pulley of the Petzl Eject. So the next piece of the puzzle you're going to need is a carabiner, preferably with the pulley in. So this is a DMM revolver rig, and it's got a high efficiency pulley on there. So this is the pulley plus the pulley on the Petzl Eject is going to make this redirect super smooth, as smooth as it can be. The more friction you can eliminate from the redirect system, the smoother everything's going to be. So you could use just a traditional regular carabiner, but that's going to add a little bit of friction going over just the bare aluminium of the carabiner. So what I'm going to do next is capture the second leg of my line in the carabiner, making sure that the gate of the carabiner is facing away, well, on the side that the webbing strap comes out on. So you'll see what I mean in a second. So now I'm going to connect that through into that thimble prusik, and you can see the gate is on this side, because when it gets tensioned up, this revolver rig is slightly offset to the side that I'm on. So if the gate was facing the other way, by the time it's all tensioned up, it can come in to close contact with the running leg of line above it, and obviously it's unlikely that anything's going to open the gate, but there's always the chance. So the best way is just have it facing away, and it's going to remove that chance of the rope rubbing the gate open. Tension that up, and I can loosen off my lanyard, and now I can sit myself down into the system. Okay, so the way this is going to work is I've got my Petzl Eject retrieval ball, but then I've also tied on another bit of throw line to the end of it with a little carabiner. So I'll tie that onto my termination eye, and once I've descended and I want to retrieve my system, I'll pull up the termination eye, but then attached to this end I'll have the tail of my rope, and that'll be attached with a little bit of accessory cord on the tail end side, and that'll come up, the ball will trigger the eject, that'll swing back into the tree, and then I'll be able to use the tail to pull my system down. So let's give it a try. So there's my redirect, there's my main tying point. This is going to be the point where I've got to, that I want to retrieve my redirect. So first things first, lanyard on, just make sure you're nice and secure. Okay, the next thing to do is disconnect the termination end eye of your system, feed through the retrieval ball, and that's the retrieval ball that has your extra bit of throw line connected through that eye on the Petzl retrieval ball. Okay, so I'm just going to clip that back to my system for a second. Then I've also got this small piece of accessory cord. This is probably, I don't know, 3mm, 4mm, something like that, and I'm going to use this on the tail of my rope. So I'm just going to pull through a little bit of slack, and then I'll tie a 4-rat prusik on there. So that is basically just means that I can attach the tail of my rope to the retrieval ball without having to attach it to the end of my rope, because you know the end of my rope is 200 feet long, and I don't want to have to pull through like 120 feet or so of rope, or however much. So that means I can just attach the tail of my line to the retrieval ball, and then the tail of my rope now becomes the way I can retrieve this whole system. So all we have to do now is just pull down on the climbing line. So pull that up to the Petzl Eject. Okay, and you get nearly there, and then I'm just going to give it a short, sharp tug, and then it should trigger the Petzl Eject, release, and it'll just swing back over there, and then I can release it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, then I'm just going to take the tail end of my rope, pull down on that, and that pulls the system right back to me, nice and simple. So then I'll tighten up my system. So then just do everything that you just did to connect the system in reverse. So I'll just connect that little carabiner back to me again while I take off the little accessory cord. So that's the accessory cord. And then I'll take off the revolver rig and connect the Petzl Eject back to myself. Then I can close the Petzl Eject, push down on the spring to release the retrieval ball, so the Petzl Eject is now attached to me. Take off the retrieval ball, stow that on the harness, and then just get my carabiner again and attach that back to my zigzag. And then you might want to check that your rope isn't all twisted. It tends to get a bit twisted and all that. Taking the rope off and getting your system back down to you, it kind of just tends to twist up a little bit. So, and then you can finally just disconnect your lanyard once you've tensioned up your main system, and you're back to work again. So why is it then that we might even want to use a redirect, let alone a retrievable redirect? So if you're working in trees with very, wide spreading canopies, or even just a tree that has like really long limbs and you need to get out on the very tips of the limbs, so whether you're doing a little bit of end weight reduction on the limb, whether you're dead wood in the tree and you're doing a really thorough job and you need to get out onto the very tips of branches to remove some dead wood, maybe it's a sensitive area, a cemetery or something, so you need to get right out there. Maybe you're doing a removal, but there's a lot of objects below that you need to be careful of, so your rigging system's got to be very precise. You've got to take small pieces, so you need to get right out onto the ends of limbs. So all those reasons. Then you've got, if it's a wet day, wet, icy, cold day, a bit like this tree, covered in moss, covered in anything that's going to make that bark really, really slippy. Maybe just even certain trees with really smooth, slippy bark. And it's getting out on a limb that might ordinarily be quite easy to do, making it really hard in the wet, greasy situations. So those are reasons why you need to put in a redirect. And then the benefit of using a retrievable redirect is that you don't have to come back and collect the hardware, which you would do if you just put a webbing sling with a carabiner and did it that way. So if you're working a really large tree and you kind of up and down, moving side to side, all the different limbs, over the course of the day you could save yourself a lot of time and energy by setting a retrievable redirect and then retrieving it from further down in the canopy and then allowing you to move to your next location without coming back to retrieve the hardware. So those reasons why you would want to use a redirect, and more so a retrievable redirect. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.